Just as was revealed yesterday, guys, we got confirmation of the world's probably best kept secret. Not really, that's sarcasm. That the Ogre Kingdoms will be in Warhammer 3 at launch, as the early adopter DLC. As always, if you decide not to pre-order or buy Warhammer 3 within that 1 week launch period, starting at February 17th, you can purchase the Ogre Kingdoms at a separate date, and just like every other DLC in Total War Warhammer, even if you don't own the Ogre Kingdoms DLC, they will still appear in your campaigns as AI factions. Ogres are gigantic brutal bullies that enjoy eating and fighting in no particular order. In fact, one directly leads to the other in the vicious circle of life for ogres. Their hunger is never ending, and they tend to move from place to place once they have exhausted the local food supply. With that in mind, let's dig into their campaign mechanics. So starting off with their infrastructure, ogres are going to function somewhere between a horde faction like the Beastmen, who generally don't have any permanent settlements, and a regular settlement-based faction like the Empire or Grand Cathay. They will be able to conquer and hold any settlement like most other factions, but any ogre-controlled settlement will be limited to 4 building slots just like a minor settlement. Their higher tier recruitment structures and buildings will all be a part of what's called an ogre camp. Camps are temporary cities that can be set up in friendly or enemy territory at a far enough away distance from any existing settlements. Ogre camps have a cap similar to army limits for the Tomb Kings that can be increased by technology. They will act very similarly to the Dark Elf Black Arcs in that they have a sphere of influence that provides benefits and bonuses to any armies, as well as providing local recruitment for available units. Placing a new camp at the edge of your existing territory will probably make it easier to defend, but building your new camp in the middle of where you plan to ravage next is going to give your armies easier access to its benefits. Camps will be upgradable and require population surplus points to reach the next tier of available buildings. Ogre camps will have sizable garrisons to defend itself, but these will also act as raiding camps, automatically earning you some income and probably the ire of any affected factions. You'll be able to trade units between the camp and armies to reinforce the garrison, or you can directly recruit new units to make the garrison even stronger. Ogre camps will also function as a mercenary recruitment base for any faction that it's not at war with. This leads into our next section of their mechanics. Ogres are known worldwide as strong mercenaries, and you as the player will get contracts offered from factions you're not at war with every 10 turns. Completion of these contracts will get you large sums of money and a diplomatic boost with a hiring faction. Ogres are big bullies, and so once you've got the gold, you are free to take advantage of the situation. So this is something that's interesting. This is kind of what I had envisioned would be a mechanic for the Dogs of War if they ever get implemented, which I really hope they do, is that they would have this contract system where various factions could give them missions to fulfill, and you get diplomatic bonuses, and maybe those missions would push you away from other factions if they don't like who the contract giver was. And moving on to meat. Ogres will have a mechanic very similar to the Skaven food mechanic called meat. Ogres are insatiable eaters. They basically have a bottomless pit of a stomach, and hunger does not sit well with them. In addition to any gold you pay to keep your armies around, you will also have to make sure your ogre's bellies stay full, which doesn't take long for them to get hungry again. Ogre camps will eliminate the meat upkeep of any army and its influence, and several buildings built in camps can give you meat benefits. Ogres will also have some post-battle options that allow them to build up their meat stocks. After all, ogres are not picky eaters. Reading on the blog, it explains, far from just a second upkeep bar, meat also has a number of uses. Anytime an ogre army is engaged in battle, it can initiate a pre-battle feast. Up to 5 meat can be used from its stores, with each piece giving a stacking bonus to speed, charge bonus, and unit mass. Bigger, heavier ogres do bigger, more powerful charges. Which with mass gets its, even though it's not explained, it gets its own little damage bonus when you do charges, and it lets them push through units really a lot more easier. So getting mass changes, we've seen that with some of the Cathay spells too, that giving mass can be a really big deal. Back to it. In addition, all ogre armies can initiate offerings to the Great Maw, which is basically their god that was created from a comet brought down Cathay in the Warpstone Desert, giving some of their meat up for bonuses. These are buffs that last for a large number of turns for that army. And I'm not going to go into the specifics, you can see what they are right there. That covers the meat mechanic, and now we'll move on to ogre big names. Ogres are mostly big dumb brutes who don't know how to read or write, but they do know how and love to tell stories of their exploits and their histories. Bragging rights are just as important in the society as who gets to lead the tribe, and they're usually connected. Big names are titles and are status symbols among ogres. On tabletop in 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy, on which Total War Warhammer is based, big names allowed your characters to take one big name trait. It gave specific benefits, allowing you to customize and specialize your army. And a similar mechanic already exists for the Dark Elves in Total War Warhammer 2, called Names of Power. Each lord could take a single title after reaching a certain level that granted either army benefits, faction-wide benefits, or a personal power boost. For the ogres, however, each army general will be able to take up to 4 big names. Legendary lords are given some unique choices, while the generic lord options, tyrants and slaughtermasters, will get a random selection. Once a big name is unlocked, it can be equipped as a primary title, giving a specific effect. So this will function similar to basically the traits that you already see when you recruit a new lord, but they're more customizable, and they can be changed after a short cooldown. Something I would like to see, they say that the legendary lords have unique big names, but Grease's Goldtooth, the Over Tyrant, which is basically the king of all the ogres, is unique because he had a lot of big names. Some of them were like Trade Lord, Tribe Stealer, and my favorite is the Shockingly Obese. So hopefully he gets a unique mechanic or a skill that allows him to earn even more big names beyond all the 4 that regular ogre characters get. Now, talking of the ogre's tech tree, it's fairly small. They are, after all, rather straightforward and simple people or monsters, depending on who you ask. Reading, it says, their idea of research is mostly theft, coming up with better ways to eat more and charge higher sums for their services, and consuming the brains of their enemies to discover new possibilities. I wonder if one of their DLC lords will get a cooking mechanic similar to Grum the Paunch. I'm trying to remember, but there's an ogre lord who's really, really famous for having halfling cooks who are renowned in the world as the best cooks, and he only eats their food. So that would be really interesting. He's not a major character, but it'd be interesting if they gave it to him or someone else. Their tech tree reflects this by being focused on key points that increase the number of camps you have access to, as well as the starting populations of those camps, letting you set up new buildings quicker. It is quite a dense tree, not taking a lot of time to go from end to end if you simply focus on progressing. But with lots and lots of possibilities to take a tech here or there that significantly buffs a unit or economic element. Several of the camp improving techs also unlock powerful armory abilities, focused on consuming prisoners in battle, or fantastic and terrifying effects. So that pretty much covers everything revealed in the blog, but I've heard some people discussing on Reddit and Discord that the fact that the Ogre Kingdoms will only have 2 legendary lords, while some other really cool characters like Gark Ironskin, who has basically a demonic Rhinox mount that was created for him by the Chaos Dwarves, or the Mercenary Captain, Maneater, or Bragg the Gutsman, who's like an executioner who the ogres really, really despise despite his combat ability, because he cuts off their guts, which is where all their organs are, and it's just really, really horrifying for all the ogres to see that happen. So it's like they'll have him for a little bit, but as soon as he stays too long, they kick him out. So Simon or Simone, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but he's the community manager for Warhammer, suggested in the Total War Discord that their roster is just what it will look like at release, and post-launch content is planned to support Warhammer 3 for many years to come. So while it's not confirmed, I think it's very likely we will see a DLC involving ogres in the future, especially since some of their centerpiece units like the Thunder Tusk, which is my favorite monster, and Yetis, which are supposed to be like these really, really fast ogre, kin of the ogres that have razor sharp claws and then they disappear into the snow. Neither of these units have even been mentioned yet, so I think it's really likely we'll get a DLC in the future that includes these. Well, let me know, what do you guys think of the Ogre Kingdom's race mechanics? Do you like them? Do you wish something was different, or was there something missing that you would like to see? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, bringing everything to a conclusion, that will be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it helps my videos get seen by more people. I'm also trying to hit 1,000 subscribers so I can apply to become a verified content creator partner with Creative Assembly. That would allow me to have early access to information like what we have covered in this video and allow me to get content out to you guys as soon as possible. I'm Warhammer, and have a great day, everybody.